If you've been scrolling through endless lists of point-of-use water heaters, comparing wattage, gallon capacity, and price, and you still feel stuck wondering which one actually makes sense for your home or small business, this review is here to clear that up. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've spent a good chunk of time looking at the type of installations where a 19.9-gallon electric unit makes sense, reading through a handful of buyer comments on similar models, and thinking through the hidden trade-offs that most spec sheets ignore. First off, let's talk about the situation where a point-of-use water heater really shines. Imagine you have a single-sink kitchen in a tiny apartment, or a commercial break room that only serves a handful of employees. You don't need a massive tank that sits under a full-size kitchen sink, but you also can't rely on an Instanton tankless unit that draws 30+ amps and forces you to upgrade your breaker. The Rheem 19.9-gallon commercial model sits neatly in that sweet spot. At 6,000 watts, it can raise that nearly 20-gallon tank from cold to a usable temperature in roughly 3,000 to 45 minutes, depending on incoming water temperature. That means you get a ready-to-go supply of hot water for several mugs of coffee, a quick shower, or a rinse down of a few dishes without the lag you'd experience with a tiny 6-gallon model. Now, who should actually buy this heater? If you're a renter or a homeowner with limited space, you'll appreciate the relatively compact footprint. The tank is about the size of a large dishwasher, so it can fit under a countertop or in a cramped utility closet. It's also rated for commercial use, which translates to a more robust internal thermostat and a build that can handle a higher duty cycle than a residential-only unit. That makes it a solid choice for a small office break room, a tiny coffee shop, or a vacation rental where guests expect a quick, reliable hot water supply but the property owner doesn't want to install a full-size water heater. On the other hand, if you're running a high-traffic restaurant kitchen or a multi-unit apartment building, you'll quickly outgrow a 20-gallon tank. In those scenarios, a larger, perhaps even a tankless system would be the smarter investment. Let's dig into the practical strengths. The biggest win for me is the point-of-use label combined with a decent tank size. The 19.9-gallon capacity eliminates the classic cold water shock you sometimes get with smaller electric heaters that have to constantly reheat water for a second cup of coffee. Because the unit keeps a modest reserve of hot water, you can pull a couple of showers or a few loads of dishes in a row before the temperature dips. The heating element 6,000 watts is also a sweet spot. It's powerful enough to heat the water quickly, yet it stays within the limits of most standard 30-amp circuits, meaning you won't need to upgrade your electrical panel for most single-unit installations. The silver finish is neutral and blends into most utility rooms without looking out of place, and the unit's controls are straightforward: a single dial for temperature setting and a clear on-off switch. For anyone who isn't a DIY electrician, the wiring is simple enough that a qualified handyman can have it up and running in an afternoon. On the flip side, there are a few practical weaknesses to keep in mind. First, the unit is definitely a commercial model, which means the internal components are built for durability, but that also brings a higher price tag than a plain residential 6-gallon electric heater. If you're only looking for a single-use application, say, a tiny apartment where you only need hot water for a shower once a day, the extra capacity could feel like overkill, and you'll be paying for gallons you never use. Secondly, the heater does require a dedicated 240-volt line. While many homes have this in the garage or utility area, older houses may only have 120-volt circuits in the right places, necessitating some extra electrical work. Lastly, the unit doesn't have any advanced features like Wi-Fi connectivity or a built-in leak detection sensor. Those aren't mandatory, but they're becoming common in newer point-of-use models. If you value remote monitoring or smart home integration, you'll need to look elsewhere. A real-world scenario that illustrates the value proposition is a tiny B&B that renovated a historic home and kept the original kitchen layout. The owners wanted to give guests a reliable hot water source at the sink without running a massive water heater through the whole house, which would have required extensive plumbing upgrades. They installed the Rheem 19.9-gallon unit under the sink, wired it to a nearby 240-volt circuit, and set the thermostat to 130°F. Guests reported that they could wash dishes, make tea, and even take a quick hand shower in the bathroom without waiting for water to warm up. The owners noted that the unit's commercial-grade thermostat gave them confidence the temperature wouldn't fluctuate wildly, something they'd heard about with lower-cost residential models. The investment paid off because the unit's footprint allowed it to stay hidden.